Football returns to the state of Ohio. It started in the Tri-State last week, but finally we get some in the Buckeye State. And joining me, two of the best and brightest from around here in the state of Ohio. We have Coach Cody Reardon from the Reading Blue Devils and Coach Jason Krause from Fairfield. Guys, finally we get to talk about games. Your players can stop hitting each other. They get to hit somebody else. Just how excited are you guys for the season to start?
Very excited. As you said, we've gone through 3 weeks of about hitting each other and being out in the heat. And now, finally we get the final payoff.
We looked at the countdown clock today, and Centerville's been on that thing since last December, and it's got 5 days and 11 hours when we left today. Looking at that, and our kids are excited to finally get that first one under their belt.
Now, I'm always interested because coaches each have their own ways of motivating their teams and their players. You got all camp all summer, and it's a lot of the same stuff over and over again. How do you keep your guys fresh and keeping them with their eyes on the horizon and get rid of that fatigue that might set in?
Well, nowadays camps turn into, you have to try and find a way to mix things up, whether it be a change to the schedule, we'll take our kids to the pool, whether it be a meal, just something special. They're teenage boys that don't have a very long attention span. So you got to mix it up to try to keep it fresh and, but always staying focused on what the goal is.
I think the best thing we did this summer probably was going more good on good. Our first team D against our first team O, more reps of that really kind of motivated our kids to play as good as they can.
Well, Coach Reardon, we'll start with you now. You open with Purcell Marion, 4-6 last season. You're going into your second year. Where does your program stand right now? As you said before, you're kind of in a rebuilding mode and trying to build this thing up.
That's right. I couldn't ask for a better community. I get great young men. We're very young. As you know, our senior class isn't the biggest, but they're hungry and they've all bought into what we want to do in our program. They love our coaches. Our coaches are father figures for our young men, and they're mentors for them. And I really think that really pushing that message of beyond football and having a relationship with the player, they've really bought into that, and they're going to be ready for week one. Coach Worth has a great team over there in Purcell, and I'm really excited to see what we do and how, if it's all going to pay off for us.
Now, Coach, your team, a little bit on the opposite end. You guys made the playoffs the last few years, 7-3 last year. It seems like you always get to the playoffs and then getting over that hump. I'm sorry to bring up a sore subject, but you haven't gotten over the hill.
About, yeah.
Is that something you guys have been motivating your guys with, or do you kind of have them, put it all in the past? How do you use that to motivate them, I guess?
Well, I think that was a big part of our discussion in the offseason was, taking that next step as a program. But obviously, our league is tough, our schedule is tough. A lot of really good football players in the GMC, and we got to take them 1 week at a time. But I think as a program, that's a goal of ours is to take that next step, and win week 11 and get to week 11, and then maybe make a little noise in the playoffs. And that's what we really need to do as a program. But we understand how tough it is to just get back to week 11 in Region 4 in Ohio.
And so many good players around this area, and you got one of the good ones in your backfield. It's got to be pretty good when you're thinking of your team going this year and you got a guy who's getting that SEC interest.
Well, you talk about a kid, just Tom McClain, I'm sure that's who you're talking about, and one of the best I've coached, and not just because of his dynamic ability with the ball in his hands, but everything that he does. The little things, when he doesn't have the ball, he does everything right. He's a leader, and he's really kind of been the catalyst for us this offseason, and he's a high-character kid, and I think it starts there. He's a kid that pays attention to detail. We talk about that all the time, and he does that. He has that, and some kids just have it. And he's self-motivated, as I said, and he's one of the hardest workers. And on top of that, being the best player, it's really easy for our kids to look up to a kid like that.
So we know Fairfield, you guys want to take that next step, get through the next round of the playoffs and everything. For your program, where you're still in this rebuilding mode, what is your next step that you guys want to take this year?
Well, obviously, it's really, again, pushing that message of, what do we want to do in our program? And this was the first year of some of the new implementations I've put into my team. And again, they're buying in. It's 1 week at a time. We don't try and predict what kind of record we're going to have. It's the next day. I always try and push that message is, what do we worry about tomorrow? Let's win tomorrow, win today. What can we do to get better? you know, we're teaching our kids the basics right now. You know, when I got them, you know, they had some great coaching before, but they're very young. They just got to learn what it takes to compete in a high school practice, how to be organized, what to focus on, and emotionally as well. When things go bad, how can we stay positive all the time?
And a young team, I mean, I think all of us have been under the Friday night lights at one point. The first time you go out there, I remember my first time out there, you get a little jittery, get a little nervous. How do you tell the guys that maybe don't have that Friday night experience how to handle what they're going to go through like that?
You know, you try to make practices as intense as possible, and that's what we've done. You know, I try to tell them that the weekly practices make Friday easy. So it's very high intense practices, very mentally, you know, it's tough. And so that way when we get to Fridays and the lights click on and the pads start popping, they're ready to go. They've understand I've done this before.
All right, well, the Friday Night Lights getting ready to come on. Both these guys will be on the field, and I guess we're ready for football season. It's finally here, guys.
Absolutely.
All right.